Disclaimer: the following program is designed to offend, provoke, and challenge your religious sensibilities. It contains content that will likely offend anyone who holds religion sacred. This is for those with thick skin or a taste for the harsh truth. If you're easily offended or cherish your religious views, please turn off now. Viewer discretion is strongly advised. You have been warned. Welcome to another episode of VersaTroll, where we take a hard look at the Bible and ask the questions you're not supposed to. Today's topic: the Bible's war on thinking. You've probably heard it before: just have faith. God's ways are higher than ours. Lean not on your own understanding. So pretty much, they're saying stop thinking and just believe whatever we tell you. And this isn't just some fluke, it's the entire foundation of religion. Every week I get comments proving it. One person literally told me, the freedom you enjoy comes from that which you don't understand. Yeah, read that again. That's not wisdom. That's a cult mantra. And when I called it out, they deleted it. Because here's the thing: faith doesn't thrive on questions, it dies from them. So why does religion need people to shut off their brains? Why does Christianity fear questions? And why does every apologetic response eventually boil down to just trust God instead of giving actual answers? Because blind faith isn't just encouraged, it's mandatory. This video might hurt some feelings, so strap in. Before we dive in, I just want to address something real quick. There are a lot of comments on these videos, and while I do read every single one, I try to heart them to show that I saw them. Replying to all of them takes a ton of time. And that's time I could be using to actually make more videos. So unless I see an argument popping up repeatedly, I probably won't address it individually. And if I do, it'll likely be in a video so I can hit everybody at once. But I still appreciate all your comments, your thoughts, and of course, for watching. Let's get straight to the verses, because if you ever wondered whether Christianity hates critical thinking, the Bible itself makes it pretty obvious. Proverbs 3:5, your brain is the enemy, stop using it. Matthew 18:3, stay gullible, stay naive. Thinking is bad, childlike trust is good. 2 Corinthians 5:7, evidence? Who needs that? Just believe. 1 Corinthians 1:27, dumber is better, don't ask questions. Colossians 2:8, thinking too hard will ruin your faith, stay ignorant. Anybody noticing a pattern here? Every one of these verses tells you to stop questioning. Now, let's be fair, right? Surely the Bible encourages knowledge somewhere. I mean, it can't be all bad, right? And at first glance, it actually seems like it does. There are some verses that promote wisdom and understanding, at least until you realize there's a catch. Let's take a look. Proverbs 1:7, knowledge starts with fearing God, so only his knowledge matters. Everything else, dangerous. Proverbs 4:7 sounds great until you realize wisdom here means obedience, not critical thinking. Hosea 4:6, Christians love quoting this, but the knowledge here isn't science or reason, it's about rejecting God's law. Ecclesiastes 7:12, Ecclesiastes also says wisdom is pointless and causes sorrow in Ecclesiastes 1:18. Daniel 12:4, some claim this verse predicts modern technology, but in context, it's about end times prophecy, knowledge of God, not the universe. Colossians 2:3, only Christian knowledge is valid. Anything else? Satanic deception. Okay, so we've got one, right? Ecclesiastes, except it's immediately contradicted by another verse in the same book. So I figured there has to be more. There has to be at least one verse that actually encourages critical thinking. To be fair, I even asked AI to dig up any Bible verse that genuinely promotes real knowledge. Surely there had to be something, right? Well, here's what I found. Proverbs 2:6, all wisdom must come from God, independent thought not allowed. Proverbs 18:15, the heart of the prudent getteth knowledge. Sounds open-ended, but the context is spiritual knowledge. Secular knowledge is still vain deceit. Colossians 2:8, Daniel 1:17. They didn't learn, God just gave it to them. Free will and critical thinking? Nope. James 1:5, why learn when you can just ask God for wisdom? This discourages questioning and investigation. John 8:32, the truth isn't objective knowledge, it's Jesus. In other words, believe or else. Ecclesiastes 1:18, which I mentioned above, but this one's hilarious. The Bible literally admits that actual knowledge leads to misery. Let me save you the trouble. There is no verse in the Bible that genuinely promotes unrestricted critical thinking or the pursuit of real knowledge outside of religious constraints. Every verse that seems to encourage wisdom, knowledge, or understanding ultimately restricts it to faith-based knowledge, condemns secular knowledge, claims real knowledge only comes from God, frames deep learning as dangerous, contradicts itself by both praising wisdom and calling it grief-inducing. There's not a single verse that unconditionally promotes seeking knowledge for its own sake. So here's the challenge. Find me just one Bible verse that encourages free, unrestricted critical thinking. There is no verse that tells you to seek truth freely without faith-based limitations. There is no verse that tells you to pursue knowledge without strings attached. Every so-called pro-knowledge verse has a catch, limiting it to God-approved knowledge only. This isn't just an oversight, it's by design. Religion doesn't want free thinkers, it wants believers. It survives not on truth, but on obedience. This isn't wisdom, it's thought control. And if Christianity actually stood up to scrutiny, it wouldn't have to warn people against thinking. Now, if Christianity was actually true, wouldn't asking questions just make people believe in it even more? Wouldn't an all-powerful, all-knowing God want people to understand his plan? But instead, religious leaders desperately want people to avoid thinking too much, because once you start really questioning things, you'll notice the cracks. Why does God need blood to forgive people? Why does an all-loving God send people to hell? Why does Christianity have so many contradictions? Why do apologists always twist things instead of just answering directly? And that's the problem. Critical thinking is Christianity's worst enemy. If you start questioning even a little bit, the whole thing falls apart. That's why faith requires ignorance. When you question Christianity, notice what happens. First, they give a shallow answer, like God's ways are higher than ours. Then they scramble for damage control. You're thinking too logically. Faith isn't about logic. Finally, when all else fails, they blame you. You just need more faith. It's the ultimate gaslight. You are the problem, not the contradictions, not the lack of evidence, not the ridiculous apologetics. Just you for daring to question it. This is classic cult behavior. And nobody likes to hear that, and that's fine. Interestingly, research has explored this dynamic. A meta-analysis of 63 studies found a significant negative association between intelligence and religiosity. It suggests that as analytical thinking increases, religious belief tends to decrease. I'll link the study from PubMed in the description below. It offends a lot of people, which I'm also fine with, but I don't want to focus on it. And trust me, I get it. People get out and out offended when they're called stupid. I understand. So I don't want to do that, but I can admit I was once stupid too. I was definitely stupid. When questioning is forbidden, guess what happens? People stay trapped in belief systems they never chose. You were raised Christian, you'll stay Christian. Raised Muslim, you'll stay Muslim. Raised Hindu, you'll stay Hindu. Not because it's true, but because you were never allowed to question it. Religions know that once you start thinking critically, you're way more likely to walk away. That's why doubt is treated like a sin instead of a path to truth. Christianity requires ignorance to survive. The Bible directly discourages critical thinking. When faith is challenged, the response is never answers, just deflection. If your belief system collapses the moment you think about it too hard, maybe it wasn't worth believing in the first place. So next time someone tells you just believe, ask yourself, why do they need me to stop thinking? Because if truth actually stood up to scrutiny, they wouldn't need to keep telling you to stop questioning it. And that's it. That's the secret. Thinking is the enemy of faith. So if you're worried about questioning too much, don't. Just stop thinking. It's easier that way. Accept your role, obey without question, and never ever wonder why none of this makes sense. That's what faith is for. Amen.